Good morning, everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started in about 2 minutes here. Just letting a bunch of people log in here, and we'll get started about one after the hour. All right, it's about 10:01. We're going to go ahead and get started here. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Tyler Finken, Health Marketing Director over at Western Marketing. First off, I would just like to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, especially during this time of year when everybody's prepping AEP, to sit down on this webinar with us today. This is going to be a quick refresh on the Medicare Center enrollment platform powered by Integrity. I am going to say ahead of time that there is a lot of new features to this that if you're not familiar with, you're going to want to pay close attention to today and get familiar with and play around with it, especially before the 15th when you're able to start submitting applications. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump in. But one more thing before we get started here, on the right-hand side of your screen, if you do have any questions at any time during this webinar, please type that into the question box and I will do my best to answer them at the end of the webinar here. So having said that, I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So for those of you that are familiar with Medicare Center, and hopefully most of you are at this point, this is what the homepage for Medicare Center looks like. It's just www.medicarecenter.com. If you are not familiar with it, or if you do not have an account yet, you're going to click this blue button here that says Get Started, and you're going to want to get registered as soon as possible. For those of you that do have an account, you're going to go up here to log in, and your username is always going to be your national producer number. So make sure you know what that is and have that saved. So let's go ahead and get logged in and jump into the meat and potatoes of this here. The dashboard, once you have logged into Medicare Center, might look a little bit different than what you're used to from last AEP. Like I said, they've added some features to make this a little bit more intuitive for you at this point. So this is what the dashboard looks like. At the top, you'll see contacts, which is where you will go to find the client info that you put in here. You've got the Learning Center, which has a bunch of training videos and PDFs for you to use on your own time to get familiar with Medicare Center. And then you have your account up here in the top right-hand corner where you can go in and edit your information and everything like that. So let's go through the dashboard here real quick. You will see this policy snapshot right here. Now, I'm not out in the field currently taking applications like you guys are, but for those of you that are currently using Medicare Center, you will have your most recent applications show up in the policy snapshot right here. You'll see ones that have been declined, you'll see ones that have been applied for but have not yet been approved, and then you'll see the ones that have been issued. That's all going to be right there. If you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see a task list. This is going to show you any scope of appointments that have not been completed, any reminders that you have set within MedicareCENTER, any unlinked calls, which I will go into that in just a second here, and any unlinked policies. So make sure you're paying attention to this information right here. Make sure you click on them with whatever you need completed, and make sure that you're getting everything done in a timely manner and submitted properly. Unlinked calls. This is a new feature that they have in here, and this is going to be most of the time like a missed call where somebody calls the number that's provided to you from MedicareCENTER. You missed the call. It's not tied to a person in there, and so this is where you're going to be able to find that. You'll see the number right here. You'll be able to look up that number, find out who it is, and then you can link it to a contact that you have in MedicareCENTER. If you scroll down just a little bit more, you are going to show your recent activity. This is going to show any new profiles that you put in there, any new scope of appointments that are sent out, or applications that have been submitted, or anything like that. That's going to be down at the bottom here. Now, let's go into the contacts tab over here so I can show you what that looks like. Like I said earlier, this is where you are going to see all of the contacts that you put into MedicareCENTER. As you see, these are all the people. A lot of these are, people that I work with, or fake profiles and everything like that. So, but this is where you're going to show your client list that you've imported into the system. How do you add a new client? You're going to go to the contacts tab, and you're going to click this blue button right here that says add new, and then it's going to take you to this page. I'm going to go ahead and create a fake contact here real quick, just to kind of show you what it looks like. But this is what you will do when you come across a new prospect or a new client, you put them into MedicareCENTER. I'm just going to go ahead and make up some information here. Going to go ahead and use Missouri Valley, Iowa, because that is where we are currently located. We put in some fake information here and scroll down. So as you can see, to put information in on a new client, what they're asking for is their name, date of birth, address, email address, and phone number, and you can put in the beneficiary ID number and the Part A and Part B effective dates here if you have them. Obviously, since this is a test run, I do not have those, so I'm just going to leave those blank. What do you do when you have all that information in there? Go down here and hit Create Contact. This is going to take you to that client's profile within MedicareCENTER as soon as you hit Create Contact. And that's what this looks like. As you can see, that's supposed to say George. Sorry, I can't type this morning. But George Tester, the name at the top there, it's got his email, his phone number, his address, and everything else down here. So once you have all that information in the system, this is where you can go to continue on with the appointment. Now, everybody knows you have to have a scope of appointment signed before you can talk about Medicare Advantage or prescription drug plans. And there is that new 48-hour rule that they brought back this year that I will go over in just a second. So unless you're getting a paper scope of appointment, you will need to send a scope of appointment link out to the client through MedicareCENTER. How do you do that, you ask? On the left-hand side of the client profile right here, you'll click on this button that says Scope of Appointment. It's going to bring up this page. The next thing you do is click on that link that says Send New, and it's going to ask you which is the best way to send it to the client. Now, that gives you two options. You can either email it to the client, or you can send it via text message. Now, I have come to find out, believe it or not, that with the seniors that I work with, text message tends to work a little bit better than email. That's just my personal experience. You guys might have something different. But I like to be able to text it to their smartphones because everybody's got a smartphone nowadays and everybody's usually pretty good at working them. So what's going to happen is they're going to get a text message or they're going to get an email, and it's going to say, hey, your insurance agent, Tyler Finken in this case, has sent you a scope of appointment. Please complete this to the best of your ability and sign it and send it back. So they click on the link. They might have to fill out a little bit of information, like maybe an address or something like that. They will have to select the plans that they have agreed to talk to you about, which is Medicare Advantage, prescription drug, hospital indemnity, dental, whatever. And then they are going to send that back electronically. Now, before I go any further, I want to have you note this new feature right here that just has started popping up within the last week or so. This addresses the 48-hour scope of appointment rule. It says under CMS 2024 regulations, agents who contact beneficiaries through outbound lead activities must wait 48 hours between the beneficiary's SOA signature and the sales meeting. You'll see here it's got this little box check mark here that says track 48-hour waiting period. What that means is when this box is checked, when I send the SOA to the client, it is actually not going to let me as the agent complete that SOA until 48 hours at a minimum after that's been sent. So it will actually track the exact time that you sent it. So right now it's 10:10 Central Time. If I send it right now, I wouldn't be able to complete the scope appointment as the agent until 10:10 Central Time on Friday. If you uncheck this box, it's going to allow you to complete it, but you still have to abide by the 48-hour rule. So use that at your discretion. Be careful because CMS is going to be tracking a lot of this year, and we want to make sure that we abide by those rules. When you send a scope of appointment and the client gets the link, they're going to click on it, they're going to fill it out, they're going to send it back to you. When they send it back to you, you are going to get a notification through your email that says George Tester, or the name of the client, has completed the scope of appointment. At that point, you're going to want to come back in here, click on the scope of appointment tab, and it's going to have a box right here at the top that says George Tester has completed the scope of appointment. I want you to be very, very careful with this because you as the agent are not done at this point. You actually have to click on the link that'll pop back up right here on the screen and go in and fill it out yourself as the agent and submit it. Once you have done your portion as the agent, then that scope of appointment is considered valid and compliant. Make sure that you are paying attention to that and get that done, because if something comes up down the road and there's a complaint filed or somebody requests a copy of the scope of appointment and you don't have it completed properly, that could present a problem for you with CMS or the carrier. So make sure when the client sends it back, you go in and complete it as the agent. Now that the scope of appointment is completed, let's take a look at the plans. MedicareCENTER is only going to show the plans that you are contracted and ready to sell for through an integrity partner. Whether that's Western Marketing, which we hope it is, or whether it's one of the other 200 integrity partners, it's only going to show you the plans in here that you're contracted and ready to sell with through one of us integrity partners. Now, the information that you get out of this right here is only as good as the information that you put into MedicareCENTER. Now, what do I mean by that? I'm going to go back to George Tester's details page here and scroll down a little bit. You'll see here that you have the option to add Mr. Tester's providers. You have the option to add Mr. Tester's prescriptions, and you have the option to add Mr. Tester's preferred pharmacy. Now, you can put as many providers in as you want. You can put as many prescriptions in as you want, but it only allows you to put in one preferred pharmacy at this time. If you want to compare pharmacies, you'd probably have to go back and just kind of, add a different one at different times and see how it comes out, or always check through Medicare.gov if you want to compare multiple pharmacies at once. I think this is something Integrity is working on, being able to add and compare, but at this point in time, you can only add one pharmacy. But like I said, this system is only as good as the information that you put in here. So you want to make sure that you're putting in all of the client's providers and all of the client's prescriptions and make sure that that information is accurate. Now, one little tidbit on the providers here. MedicareCENTER takes the information directly from the carriers as far as providers, but it's a little bit finicky at this point in time. What I mean by that is if you put a provider in here, you're going to want to make sure you've got the correct spelling of the provider's name, but you're also going to want to make sure that you select the correct location. For some reason or another, if a provider has different locations, it might come up as not in network at some point. So you're going to want to make sure that that you're putting that in there as the correct location. Why it does that, I don't know, but it's something that Integrity and Medicare Center are working on at this time. I would always advise double checking the providers with the carrier websites as well, just to be 100% certain. I know, like I said, MedicareCENTER has pulled information directly from the carriers, but I've come across one or two instances where we put a provider in there, MedicareCENTER says they're not in network. I go back and check the actual carrier website and they are. So just an FYI on that. It's pretty dang accurate, but we want to make sure that we're putting in correct information. So once all that information is in there and you go back to the plans page, it's going to bring up the most cost effective or, typically the best plan for that client based on the information that you put in there. So if you scroll down and you want to compare some of the plans, they're all going to be right there as long as you are contracted and ready to sell. Now, we get the question all the time, what if I want to show, the plans that I'm not contracted with, if it would be better for the client? You can actually bring those up on here as well. You just won't be able to enroll them through MedicareCENTER, obviously. How do we do that? Go on the left-hand side here underneath additional filters, and you see the box here is checkmarked My Appointed Plans. If you uncheck that box, it's going to show you all of the plans available in your area. So for example, I am not licensed or ready to sell with WellPoint. It's not even going to give me an option to enroll down here versus Humana, which I am licensed and ready to sell with, and it does give me that blue button. Once we get to 1015, this will be active. So that's how you do that over here. Also, if you're looking at a dual special needs plan, you can select that on the left-hand side over here, and it's going to show you only the dual special needs plans available in your area. Hope that makes sense so far. Once you are ready to enroll somebody, you will have this blue button down here, like I said, which will become live on October 15th when you're able to start submitting applications. Now, this is going to be very similar to the scope of appointment process that we did earlier. It's going to ask you, do you want to send it to a text message or an email? Now, if they choose email, it's actually going to give you two options. One option is going to say that you will send the link to the client to be signed. The second option is going to say, I will fill out on the client's behalf. Now, I want to make sure I go over those in great detail here because there is a difference. The top one that says you will send to the agent to be signed means that you will be putting the information in for the client, and at time of submission, they will send out an email or a text message to that client with a link in it that where they have to go in, review the information, enter any information that might be missing, and then confirm and submit it on their end. The second option says you'll be entering it for them. This second option is only to be used if you are in the physical presence of the client. And the only difference is you're still going to enter the information in MedicareCENTER yourself for the client, but it's going to allow you to submit it directly to the carrier without sending an email or a text message signature process. Again, this second option is only to be used if you are in the physical presence of the client and they give you permission to submit it on their behalf. So make sure that you're following along with that. So that pretty much covers the scope of appointment and enrollment portion of MedicareCENTER. Hopefully you guys are familiar with this a little bit. I know a lot of you hopefully used it last year. What I would recommend is definitely get logged in and play around with it a little bit, discover the new features, the little nuances that maybe weren't around last year, and get familiar with it before the 15th, before we start enrolling clients. One thing I do want to add is that after the enrollments are submitted, the health risk assessments for the majority of the carriers should be available in MedicareCENTER to complete after the enrollment is completed. So there's no more jumping back to each carrier site or anything like that. Once you submit it, you should get a pop-up box at the end that asks if you want to complete the health risk assessment. So go ahead and do that at that time as well. Now, another thing that I want to cover that MedicareCENTER does is the call recordings. Everybody last year remembers kind of what a nightmare it was last year trying to figure out how the call recordings work. I'm going to show you how that works through MedicareCENTER here real quick, just so you're aware. First, what I want to do is I want to go to my account and explain kind of how this works. This is going to be where you find your unique specific phone number that MedicareCENTER has assigned to you. I want to make very, very clear, please do not, and I'm going to repeat that, please do not write this number down as your number. This number that I've highlighted right here is unique to me, Tyler Finken, and me only, okay? I've had a couple people in the past when I'm doing these trainings like this write down this number, they put it on their marketing pieces, and then all of their client phone calls go to me rather than them. So please do not copy this number down. This is unique to me. Your number can be found by clicking on your name up in the top right hand corner and clicking account. This is where your number is going to be. This is the number that MedicareCENTER and Integrity, in a perfect world, wants you to put on all of your marketing pieces, your emails, etc. The reason is because if people call this number, it's going to ring to your office phone or your cell phone, whichever you have set up, and the call recording is going to take place automatically. That way you don't have to do anything. You don't have to hang up and get a call back or anything like that. It's going to be taken care of automatically. Now, I mentioned there it's going to go to your office phone or your cell phone. Well, how do you set that up? That's going to be this number right here. You're going to want to go in and edit this number to the best phone that you want people to be able to reach you at if they call your unique number. This is my personal cell phone number. So if anybody calls this number right here, the call is actually going to be forwarded to my cell phone, and it's going to automatically start the recording as soon as I answer my cell phone. I went through that pretty quickly. If anybody has any questions on that, feel free to get a hold of me after this is over, but that's basically how it works. So what happens next? I want you all to write down a phone number that I'm going to give here really quick and save it in your phone as MedicareCENTER inbound call. That's how I have it saved in my phone. And the reason I want you to do this is because if somebody calls this number right here and it gets forwarded to my cell phone, the following number is going to pop up on my cell phone, and this is how I know I'm getting a call from MedicareCENTER. That number is 1-254-271-0085. Again, that number is 254-271-0085. That's the number that's going to show up on your phone when somebody is making an inbound call to you through this number right here. That way, you know, number one, that it's coming from somebody in MedicareCENTER. Number two, it's not going to get blocked by any type of spam filters or robocall filters or anything like that. So make sure you save that number. That is an inbound call. You're probably wondering, how do we do an outbound call to be recorded? Well, I'm going to show you that now. So let's go back to the profile that I created earlier for George Tester. You'll notice that I've put his phone number in right here, and it's got a live link. If I want to make an outbound call that is supposed to be recorded to Mr. Tester here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Medicare Center and I'm going to click on this number right here. That is actually going to initiate a three-way phone call. The first call is going to be made to whatever number you had put in back here on the profile. So if I were to click this number right here, it's actually going to call me first at my cell phone. My phone's going to ring. As soon as I answer it, it's going to make an outbound call to the client's number right here. The reason it does that is because it's essentially acting as a three-way call between you, the client, and MedicareCENTER, and MedicareCENTER is going to start recording the call as soon as possible. Now, what the client is going to hear when they answer is, it's going to say, you are now being connected to your licensed insurance agent. This call is going to be recorded for quality and assurance purposes. As soon as that message is done, the call is live and it's being recorded so you can start talking to your client. Now, there is a CMS rule that says a disclaimer has to be read within the first 60 seconds of a phone call. Now, I know a lot of times that's not going to be, possible depending on who you're talking to, but you need to read the disclaimer as soon as possible, ideally within the first 60 seconds of the phone call. And that disclaimer can actually be found right here on MedicareCENTER. So let's say somebody calls me or I call them, we exchange pleasantries. Hi, how you doing? Good. I'm, yada, yada, yada. Oh, Mr. Tester, by the way, to be in compliance with CMS guidelines, I have to read you a script within the first 60 seconds. The script can actually be found by clicking this button right here in MedicareCENTER. And it says, this call may be recorded for quality assurance or training purposes. We do not offer every plan available in your area. Currently, we offer X amount of organizations which offer X amount of products in your area. The nice thing is, based on the information that I did to this guy, it's showing me I represent 5 organizations and 32 products. Please contact Medicare.gov, 1-800-Medicare, or your state local health insurance program to get some information on all of your options. Once that disclaimer has been read, you are now able to continue with the call and ultimately the enrollment. When the call is done, when you refresh this page, the call recording is automatically going to populate in the client's activities tab right here. Now, one thing I want to make very, very clear, and that Integrity and MedicareCENTER ask us to pass along in these trainings is, while you can have access to that recording if you need it, they advise don't download it unless you absolutely have to. If there's a CMS violation or something that you need to provide that call to for, CMS or the carrier to review, or if you need to go back and reference it or something, that's fine, but don't download it unless you absolutely have to. The reason for that is once you download that file to your computer, it's now your responsibility to make sure that your computer has all of the necessary security measures and everything in place to avoid, a HIPAA violation or that phone call getting out. On the Clients tab here, you'll also see you can enter notes. So like if you enroll some person in like an Aetna PPO plan, you can put that in here. Say, hey, on 10/11, I enrolled Mr. Tester in the Aetna PPO. Application's been submitted, yada, yada, yada. So that's the call recording feature inside MedicareCENTER as well. If you're not familiar with that, I would definitely go to the Learning Center up here and find the videos or the training or something that shows the call recording or anything else that you just want to go ahead and get more familiar with within MedicareCENTER. There's a lot of moving parts to this. I know I went through this a little bit quickly, but once you get in there, play around with it a little bit, once you get the hang of it, it's actually not that difficult. If you do have questions, feel free to reach out to your marketer over here or myself. Would happy to walk you through this one-on-one, but the vast majority of your questions can be answered in the Learning Center up here just by searching for whatever it is that you are needing. So that is going to conclude our MedicareCENTER training today. One other thing that I failed to mention that I'm going to go over real quick is the agent website that MedicareCENTER has built for you. What this is this is a personalized website that you can actually put in your marketing pieces, you can send out in your email blasts or anything else that will basically allow clients to go to your website and enroll themselves if they want to. And this is what that website looks like. So let's say you put out an email blast or you put out a marketing piece with this URL on it, and somebody goes to this website. They can actually search for their plans and actually enroll if they want to. The beautiful thing about this is if somebody goes to this website of yours and enrolls in a plan, you're going to get agent of record and you're going to get paid the full commission that you are owed as if you did an enrollment yourself through MedicareCENTER. That is awesome, if you ask me. So be sure to know exactly where to find it. Go in your profile up here, go under account, and you can find your agent website right here. This is automatically done for you for everybody that registers for MedicareCENTER, so make sure that you know where to find that and know how to use it. That's going to be it for today. I'm going to go back in and check and see if there's any questions here and try to get those addressed. And if you have any more, please submit them in the questions box. Otherwise, get a hold of us over here at Western Marketing. First question says, if they call you on your MedicareCENTER phone number, do you still need to wait 48 hours scope of appointment? That is a great question and one that has come up a lot during this AEP prep here. So the official ruling is an unscheduled inbound call does not have to have the 48-hour scope of appointment rule. Now, the key word there is unscheduled. You can't tell a client, hey, I'm going to hang up. I need you to call me back so we can skirt the 48-hour scope of appointment rule. That does not work. If a client calls you out of the blue, or a potential prospect calls you out of the blue and it was an unscheduled inbound call, you don't have to do the 48-hour rule. Next question is, can I put in providers before 48 hours or at the time of scope? That's a really good question. I would say, if it's an existing client, you probably have that information, feel to throw that in there. If it's a brand new prospect, wait the 48 hours because you don't want to talk about anything that you're not supposed to before that 48-hour cool down period. How do you compare plans? So let's go back to the contact here. Let's pull up Mr. George Tester. Let's go over to view available plans. And then that's going to bring up the plans that are available here. Now, let's say we want to compare a couple, Aetna, Medicare, Elite PPO. You're going to click the little compare button down here. Let's say we want to compare Aetna and United Healthcare. Since I selected both of those, you can click compare, and it's going to bring them up side by side here. Someone asked, how do you compare the same plan, different year? That's a good question. I don't think that there's the ability to do that on MedicareCENTER. I'll check into that, but I don't think you can do that at this time. You'll basically just have to pull the plan year for 2023 and pull it from the carrier website and compare it on here. Is there anywhere that you can download a generic scope of appointment? Yes, there is, actually. So one of the features that you have available through MedicareCENTER is the CSG actuarial application, and that's where you would go to basically run MedSup quotes or dental quotes or something like that. I'm going to show you where to download the generic scope of appointment through here. So you're going to want to go to the document locker within the CSG quote, click run quote here, and it should bring up a generic scope of appointment. You can click create electronic document and then the download button right here. If you download it, it's going to bring up a generic scope of appointment right there for you. If you need me to send that out to you, get a hold of me afterwards. We can send that. Says, what about contacting existing customers? Do you need a scope of appointment? Yes, if you're going to be talking about the different 2024 plans, always, always, always get a scope of appointment. This asks if you can compare plans without putting in a name. Let me see here. I think you've got to have a profile completed in order to do that, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So yeah, I would definitely just create a profile, even if it's a fake one, and you can compare the plans that way, but you got to be under somebody's profile. And that will do it for the questions for the day. So hopefully you guys thought this was beneficial. Again, I would recommend just going in and getting yourself used to it again before the 15th here. Check out the new features and everything like that. This was recorded, so I will send this out to all the attendees in case you need to go back and review it. But if you do have any questions, make sure to utilize the Learning Center right here. Most, if not all, of your questions should be able to answer there. Otherwise, get a hold of your marketer or myself over here at Western Marketing. My number is 800-852-7152. Again, that's 800-852-7152. Looks like a couple more questions came in here. Someone asked, do we have to do a second scope for enrollment? Not sure what you mean there, but scope of appointments are starting in for the 2024 plans are lasting 12 months. So as long as you have a scope of appointment and you are talking about the plans that they agreed to, like Medicare Advantage, prescription drug plans, and they're marked off on that scope of appointment, you do not need to grab a second one. The only time you would need to grab a second scope of appointment is if they want to talk to you about a plan that was not marked on the first scope of appointment. For example, if you took the first scope and you only marked down Medicare Advantage or PDP plans, and then they want to talk about hospital indemnity or dental or something like that, you would need to fill out a second additional one with those additional plans added to it to talk about them. So hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, feel free to get a hold of us. Best of luck to you during AEP. One thing that I do want to touch on real quick here before we go that just popped into my head is make sure you get into your account here and you are checking the states that you are ready to sell in. I cannot press that enough. That's one of the biggest issues that we have during AEPs every year is somebody tries to write a plan in a state that they had not been appointed in with that carrier. So check out your active selling permissions. Make sure all of your carriers have all the states that you're going to be writing in. And if not, get a hold of us as soon as possible so we can add that. Other than that, hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Best of luck to you during this AEP, and feel free to reach out to us. We'll help you out as much as we can. But we certainly appreciate you joining today and appreciate your business, and hope to be able to talk to you all soon.